Dana White's Contender Series 2024, week number 5. This is the weigh-in recap show, full card predictions, and the betting breakdown. I'm looking forward to talking about each of the matchups after seeing the fighters on the scales. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Turn the post notifications on and make sure you share the video too. And also note, full Contender Series fight companion going down Tuesday, which is tomorrow, depending when you're watching this. It might be today at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be live for the whole card. Do not miss it. I'm looking forward to the play-by-play, and my live reactions are going to be fun for this one. I can't wait. I think it's a banger. Let's get into the fights. First fight on it, we have Corinne Laframboise versus Nicole Caliari. I took some time with this one specifically because it's a matter of what if. Caliari's a lot younger at 27, and I couldn't even find tape on her most recent fights, her last two, but I do think she has shown promise in previous fights versus Laframboise. She ain't been fighting for 2.5 years. I'm going to go with Caliari to win because I do think that the age is a factor. Laframboise is a good pressure fighter who does have pretty good takedowns, and she's able to close distance well. She's aggressive. I don't think she's a bad striker either, and I actually feel like she's also pretty durable. She has a solid style, and if Laframboise was, 32, maybe we're having a different conversation, but past the 35 mark, and then on top of that, a 2.5-year layoff, I have concerns about how she's going to look in this fight against a hungry prospect in Nicole Caliari, who has shown promise earlier in her career, and I will definitely be anticipating an improved skill set. Now, Caliari is more of a striker. She has a Muay Thai style. She's done fights in professional kickboxing. Now, if you dig into her and you watch the loss against Kay Hansen, that was nearly 5 years ago, you're going to think that she's pretty awful on the ground because she got bodied in that fight. Granted, she has won multiple fights with grappling. Her last 2 wins are submission Ws, and even though I was not able to find the full fights of them, I did see the highlights, and her jiu-jitsu seems to be pretty competent at this point. And I'll anticipate years of work on the wrestling defense after that Kay Hansen fight have her more proficient in the grappling positions, and that is why she's able to get these submissions recently. She already had promise in the stand-up, but closing the skill set gap with an improved grappling game was the ultimate missing link. Is she going to have it? I'm going to lean towards yes, but it is a little bit of blind faith that I'm going to have here with her. Now, Laframboise has already proven she's got good jiu-jitsu. She's a champ in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. In Brazil, she's a Brazilian fighter fighting out of Canada. She's at that Brazilian top team over there, and there's some Canadian Brazilians working some savagery. I ultimately feel like this pick is kind of just playing with fire. You got a similar luck going if you flip a coin, because Laframboise is 35 with 2.5 years off, and Caliari is consistently getting better, but you can't find those music fights that she took in her past 2. But I will say they do share a common opponent. Carolina Jimenez is the opponent. 2 fights ago, it was a submission win by Caliari over Jimenez. And then last fight for Laframboise, she actually submitted Jimenez. Now, note it that Caliari submitted her a little later. The fight went a bit longer. Laframboise got her out earlier. But damn, it was 2.5 years ago. So there's a lot of question marks around it. We don't know for sure what to expect from either girl. Caliari's improvements are going to be, I think, the ultimate difference maker because she is already, I think, cleaner in the stand-up. Laframboise might have a good bullying pressure style, but her landing strikes on the feet is more or less going to be based upon the threat of the takedown and the grappling control. So if Caliari's takedown defense is proficient, I do anticipate she'll have striking success with Laframboise. Now, note, on the side of Laframboise, she does have a loss to Manon Fiorot. She was beaten up pretty cleanly in that fight, but she did make it till the last minute of the 3rd round. But Manon Fiorot, who is a very proficient striker, was actually out grappling the hell out of Laframboise. So I'm not feeling like Laframboise is that amazing at grappling. I think she's good, especially against a lesser tier opposition. I just think Caliari's got more upside potential. And I have to go with the youth factor and the potential of a skill set improvement as the way I'm picking this fight. Now, I do want to look at the scales because they're actually going to tell an interesting story. Laframboise is in good shape, but she definitely does look 35, and that's not a roast. Like, she looks like a 35-year-old. You guys know it. We see it, and she's fit for sure. Now, on the side of Caliari, she is suspiciously fit. Now, I know last week we saw an extremely fit fighter get completely laid clean, but granted, you know, that girl was Canadian too, and Laframboise got the Canadian side on her. The Canadians have been insta-fades. Like, when's the last time Canadians been winning fights successfully in the UFC? Granted, I mean, I know Jazz Josias is good, but look at last week. Loss on the Contender Series for the Canadians. Loss on the damn fight night with Kyle Nelson getting knocked out in the first round. So there is kind of a bad string of luck going for the Canadians. And I'm going to lean towards Caliari to find a way to win. I wouldn't call it a good bet, though. Let's look at the face-off. Another interesting note is the side-by-side. You see the muscularity of Caliari is pretty intimidating, actually. She's like, I'm telling you, she's suspiciously jacked, like a little Anavari. I'm not saying that she's taking anything. She could just have great genetics. And she's a lot younger, right? Caliari is a jacked 27-year-old in her prime. And then I look at Laframboise. She's a veteran of the game. She's been out for a long time. You know, being 35 is true. Like, it's a factor. And Dana White has said it himself, I'm not looking for 35-year-old prospects. And that's exactly what Laframboise would be. So I feel like, I don't know, the stars seem to be aligning for Caliari. I think she finds a way to win. Not an easy fight to pick. I'm going with the youth side, though. And ultimately, we'll bring up the odds. I don't love the idea of betting this fight. Laframboise is actually now an underdog. At open, she was sitting at minus 175. She was a big favorite. It's because she has a good skill set. She's quality. She just have question marks around her game. Caliari is minus 125. I don't like the betting side at all. I would stay away from the bet on this one. I'll lean towards Caliari with low confidence, but I don't know. If Laframboise was 32 and if she had fought in the past year, even year and a half, I'd be more apt to pick her. It's just a long layoff for her. Now, she was supposed to fight on last season's Contender Series, but I don't know, what level she's going to return at because ring rust is real, and I got to go with the more active competitor, especially when they've been fighting similar opposition in their recent fights. Now, as far as the over, it's a women's fight, so I really do favor over 2.5 at minus 125. I think Laframboise is going to be game for sure, and she might land some takedowns. I think Caliari will show improved get-ups and definitely also improved takedown defense. I think the striking is going to be pretty precise for her, so I'm going to go with Caliari by a decision in what should be a pretty good fight. Plus 250 for that Caliari decision. Laframboise also plus 250 for decision. Flip a damn coin on this one. The betting side is not something I'm interested in. Contender Series betting is already high risk in general, and now you're playing with a wildfire here. Don't do it to yourself. Unless you're maybe, finding the fight music show film. But damn, they sell the main card pay-per-view. But Caliari, I think she was on the damn prelims. So you might not even find it. It's not worth digging. I think that we're going to go Caliari, though, to find a way to win. But betting side of it, I would say no, because Laframboise is still difficult, man. She's got a tricky pressure grappling game, and she's not awful in the striking. She's just 35, and I do think that's a big factor. So Caliari to get it done on the judges' scorecards in a pretty close fight is going to be my pick for the first one. Next fight on the card, we have Otar Tanzilov versus Josias Musasa. I'm going with the OV. I'm going with Tanzilov. Now, Musasa is known as the KO Wizard. It's a pretty cool nickname for him. He comes from that African Knockout League. And I don't know if you guys saw, but African Knockout, it was a reality show that was on Netflix for a little while about African MMA. And Musasa, he's got some nice power for sure, but he does lack technical skills. Watching film on him, what I saw is somebody that's very gifted in athleticism and natural explosiveness, but I didn't see a precise striking style. I didn't really see even a calculated attack. I saw more of a bullying barrage of somebody who's known to have advantages in knockout power and explosiveness over lesser opponents. And as he will land these big shots, fighters will break. The thing is, Otar Tanzilov, he's been fighting for a while. He made his pro debut, I believe, back in 2018. He did the IMAAF amateur competitions as well. So Tanzilov, for me, is a more seasoned fighter, even though he's got only 2 more pro fights. He's been fighting a lot longer. He's also been fighting in a higher caliber league. He was at UAE Warriors. Granted, this Deniz stoppage was horrible. And I mean, the win here last time, Abdulayev, he went distance. He was able to showcase some takedowns in the fight too. He is a well-versed fighter. Now, he is known for the kickboxing game. Tanzilov's base is going to be the striking. He has a very light bounce to his striking style. He darts in and out of range well. I actually really like his stand-up skills. He's clean on the feet for sure, and I feel like he's pretty accurate and precise. Now, he definitely does not have the same punching power as Musasa, but what he does have is a more well-versed tool set in the striking department. Yes, Musasa, if you're just comparing knockout power, he's going to have the edge. But accurate shots, game plan, clean win, striking from range, being patient, mixing in takedowns, I really feel as though Tanzilov is going to have a massive advantage in that area of the fight. I just think he is more skillful. He's not as athletic or as explosive, but I do think he actually has quicker feet. He's very light on his feet, and he tends to fight on the back foot, and that's actually something that I'm going to view as a positive here against Musasa, because I feel as though Musasa would thrive against a brawler, somebody looking to pressure him. They meet in the center, and they go to war. But because Tanzilov's game is more so built upon striking from range and finding precise counters as well as mixing in takedowns at the right time, I feel like you have to favor his side to find a way to beat Musasa. I think he could be live for a knockout too, and it's not that Tanzilov has this great knockout power. It's that Musasa's over-aggression definitely puts him at positions or puts him at risk of getting counter-striked by somebody that's just simply cleaner in the stand-up than him. So I'm leaning Tanzilov by KO. If you're on the betting side, that's not me telling you to bet the knockout, but we will talk about the odds in a moment. But first, we got to check out the scales. Let's see. We're going to first look at Tanzilov. There he is. He's lean. He's in shape. He gives like very slight Zabit Magomed Sharapov vibes. And then we got Musasa, who looks in pretty good shape. Both guys fit and ready to rock. And then we'll look at the face-off between the two. See a little bit of the height edge for the side of Tanzilov. And then on the other side, you got Musasa looking pretty dense with his muscle tissue. I do think he hits harder, but I think precision favors Tanzilov, and I think he's going to be doing a lot of moving in this fight. He's going to stay away from the heavy hands of Musasa, and don't be surprised if Tanzilov times some takedowns here. I definitely think it's a possibility that he showcases more of his grappling skill set here because Musasa is going to put himself in compromised spots that open up the takedowns. And Tanzilov might not be an elite caliber wrestler, but he does have well-timed takedowns. And against someone over-aggressive like Musasa, who's definitely more of a brawler, I think that those opportunities are going to be pretty consistent in this fight here. Now, as far as the odds for this fight, Tanzilov is a minus 210 favorite, so pretty wide as a favorite with Musasa at plus 180. I think Tanzilov pulls through. It's also a fight in the lower weight classes, so I'm going to favor the guy that I think has more well-versed tools to go longer. Over 1.5 at plus 110, I feel is live. Tanzilov is not an absolute blitzer or anything like that. Like I said, he likes to fight off the back foot, and I think a patient and calculated Tanzilov can find the finish. Now, Tanzilov inside distance is minus 125. I would favor that as opposed to trying to chase the plus 115 knockout. Even though Tanzilov is not known for the submissions, I could see a sub opening up because I question the grappling skills. Now, granted, 0 submission wins. It's hard to say he's in a sub Musasa, but Musasa's just a knockout guy. he's pressure striking. 7-0, 7 KOs. Now, he does have a ground and pound knockout. He was on top of, I believe it was Malunes. But these guys are not good. These guys he's fighting are not high caliber. Now, is Tanzilov fighting absolute killers? No. But Eduardo Diniz is a decent Brazilian striker. He's got some power in his hands. And Abdulayev is 8-1 as a pro. He's a decent fighter from the similar region of the world, around the Caucasus region, the EV at the end of the name. So I think that Tanzilov does find a way to win. I do think it's a little bit chalky of a line, but because I really favor his technique, I think that he is going to find a way to pull through. Musasa's got the one-punch power, but he's going to need to land perfectly. He's also going to be giving up a little bit of height here, and he's taking on somebody that's better at striking from distance. Expect Tanzilov to be prepared for a very aggressive start from Musasa, and I think Tanzilov's going to be doing a lot of movement. I think Musasa is probably going to overextend himself, and I think he's also going to smother his punches, closing the distance a little bit too aggressively and kind of getting stifled on the inside. I think Tanzilov will have some success in the clinch, but it won't blow my mind if Musasa does fairly well in the first 3 to 4 minutes of the fight. But as this fight wears on, expect Tanzilov to start finding openings, to start landing clean kicks to the body, clean leg shots, good jabs, and I do think potentially time and takedowns. And I feel like Tanzilov could be live to find the knockout against Musasa here. So I'm going with Tanzilov to get his hand raised. He is a chalky favorite, but I think he's the technically superior guy, and I see him pulling through with the win. Doesn't look like he's that much taller, though, than Musasa. 5'11 to 5'8. It looks more like 5'9.5 to 5'8". Those heights are sometimes exaggerated. Either that or Musasa's taller than we expect. But I'm going with Tanzilov. I'm not picking the KO wizard, but damn, I'm going to pull a Yuri Prohashka. Listen, Musasa, no black magic in this shit. You can't be using no magic. Let's find out who's really better. Stop using those magical spells, KO wizard. I'm going with Tanzilov to pull through. The OV overwhelms the magical powers of the African savage. Let's get to the featured fight. We got Yusri Belgaroui versus Taiga Iwasaki. I'm going with Yusri Belgaroui to pull through. He was on Contender Series last year, and he ended up losing to a now UFC fighter in Marco Tulio, who got his shot this year and ended up getting a nice finish. So I feel like Yusri Belgaroui is pretty seasoned. I don't know. I don't really rate that as a bad loss. Marco Tulio is a tough matchup. And now he's taking on Iwasaki, who I am not very high on. I'll tell you some things about Iwasaki. If you know nothing about him, you'll see that he has a lot of wins against cans. I would say he's kind of a certified can crusher. He does have a decent striking style. He kind of keeps his hands a little bit close together, but I'd say that does help with parrying shots. He does have kind of snapping kicks, and I'd say he's relatively quick. He's a dangerous fighter, and he is okay on the ground too. He's got some wins using grappling skills, but a lot of these wins are against bums. There was a guy he was fighting whose name I don't remember because the damn shit was in Japanese, so I have no idea what the name was, but the dude was literally a fat welterweight or a fat middleweight. He had a full-on gut. The dude looked like he could have lost 25 pounds and been fighting down at 145 pounds. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't seem as though he's fought good competition. And then the one time that he took on somebody good, it was against former Bellator champion and magnificent jiu-jitsu fighter Rafael Lovato Jr., and he got taken down so quick and he was submitted so fast in that fight. We really didn't see any defense on the ground. Now, to be fair, Lovato is exceptional on the floor. He has great grappling control. He has great submissions, and he's honestly an awesome fighter. I think he's one of the bigger what-ifs in MMA history because he had some issues with his brain, which caused him to retire, and then he did this one-off return fight with Iwasaki, and he was able to absolutely run him over. Now, since then, he's got one win, and, he's taking on a 7-6 guy. Look at these other ones, 1-4, 0-0, 1-5. Iwasaki has fought nobodies, man. He's been taking on absolute cans. Yusri Belgaroui is a former pro kickboxer. He's fought against Alex Pereira. He even has a win against Alex Pereira, albeit he's got losses to Pereira too. Lost to Adesanya in kickboxing by a split decision, but he's taken on some big names in combat sports before, and he's coming back to the Contender Series. I think second time is a charm. He's a pretty long kickboxer. He has a very wide stance, but what I like about Yusri is you can tell he has a ton of fights in kickboxing because he has a very patient attack. He'll work a nice jab. He does have dangerous kicks. He doesn't overly close the gap and smother his shots. That's kind of like what I was saying with the KO wizard. Like, I think that he's going to smother his punches, whereas Yusri's not going to do that. He's very calculated. He's got a lot of striking experience, and he does have pretty good takedown defense at this point. I do think it's good enough takedown defense to deal with Iwasaki's potential takedown attempts, because I'm telling you, Iwasaki is going to look to wrestle. I don't think he strikes this whole fight, and when Belgaroui stops that takedown, Iwasaki is in big trouble on the feet. Also note, Belgaroui's got a nice knee up the center. Being 6'5" at middleweight, one of the taller middleweights of all time, that knee is going to be there because a lot of guys having a damn burp attack over here. Listen, I like Yusri Belgaroui by KO. I do believe he's going to find the kill shot, and I think he's taking Iwasaki out. Yusri would be a very high confident pick with Contender Series. I'd be pretty shocked to see him lose, and obviously the odds are going to reflect that. He's a huge favorite. We'll talk odds in a minute, but let's first look at the fighters on the scales. Let's see who comes up first. I actually don't know who we're going to see first. There's Yusri Belgaroui. He's in very good physical condition, has trained with Alex Pereira Glover Teixeira. There's a lot of work going into his MMA game. He's gotten 2 wins since that fight against Tulio. He went 5 rounds in one of those fights, and he defended a lot of takedowns, and he also got a brutal knockout in the first round in one of those fights since the Contender Series, which I like that a lot. Iwasaki, if you just looked at this picture here and I told you he was fighting at 155, you would not argue with me. He does not look like a full-size middleweight. Now let's look at the face-off between the two. Let's find it here. Where is it? It's all the way at the bottom. And there's a good size difference. This looks like a weight class difference. I think Iwasaki could potentially make 170 pounds if he really dialed in that weight cut. He may have fought at 170 before. I'll have to double check that. Off the top of my head, I don't know. But Yusri Belgaroui is a large middleweight with really dangerous striking. So I'm going with Yusri Belgaroui all day. I think he's going to get a vicious win, a knockout, and a UFC contract. And of course, he's minus 650 as the favorite. Opened at minus 350. If you got him at minus 350, I think that's a gift here. Iwasaki is completely outmatched. And listen, with Contender Series, you guys know I look for these savage underdogs. Last week, I had KO to beat Cavalcanti in the main event, and it came through in what was a massive upset. With this fight here, I think the chalky favorite is a chalky favorite for good reason. Belgaroui with takedown defense is going to find the finish. I do think fight ends inside distance at minus 210. I know Belgaroui is not going to overexert himself looking for a finish, but I think it is going to open up. I think he'll do a lot of damage and he'll find a KO. Belgaroui by KO minus 180. That's my official prediction. Yes, he's a wide money line, but it is a very confident pick. And yeah, the bookies are in complete agreement, and it's going to happen. Yusri Belgaroui for the win, for the knockout, for the UFC contract. I see him winning this fight. Let's get to our co-main event of the evening. We have Kody Steele versus Quemuel Ottoni. This is a really cool fight. Ottoni actually is the first guy to beat Alex Pereira in MMA. Quemuel Ottoni, I think that's how you say his name. I tried to listen to it beforehand, but if I'm botching it, I apologize. He'll make me remember it on Tuesday. I'm going with Ottoni to pull through and beat Kody Steele. And I know some people say, no way, you're going against the highly touted prospect who's on fire right now. I'm going to do that. Ottoni's got a win over Alex Pereira, which inherently is going to give me some slight bias towards him. Now, I know this fight's at 155. It's kind of crazy how much body fat Ottoni has lost, and the fact that he looks pretty good on the scale and doesn't seem like he's killing himself to make this weight. He's got a nice pressure forward style, which I like in this fight here against Kody Steele. He switches up his stances. He throws hard hooks. He has a little bit of an unorthodox striking style too. Does have a proven gas tank to go long in fights. I like his overhand shots. And I also do like the fact that Quemuel Ottoni has a decent grappling skill set too. He has won fights using jiu-jitsu. And I think he'll be okay on the ground if they hit the ground with Kody Steele, who comes from a grappling base, does a ton of grappling competitions. Kody Steele is a relatively highly touted prospect. I mean, he's got really good jiu-jitsu. He's got pretty good takedowns. His striking is coming along, and I will say he is, in a sense, falling in love with stand-up because he's able to bully a lot of guys with his striking. He's got quick leg kicks, and he's got pretty nice hooks closing the distance, but I do think that he is relatively stiff and pretty hittable down the center line simply because the head does not really shift off of the center line, and that gives me a lot of worry. He was stunned in a fight before against a lower tier opposition. He's been hit in the face. Now, granted, yes, he's never been knocked out. Yes, he's 6-0 as a pro. Yes, he has a ton of grappling experience, but this is cage fighting. And Quemuel Ottoni has been in MMA for a very long time. I mean, the dude's from Brazil looking to finally make it with 15 pro fights. He's got a win over Alex Pereira a very long time ago, and he's on an absolute tear right now. I like the wild style of Ottoni. I think it gives Cody Steele problems. On top of him being more experienced in MMA, and I think having a tricky striking style to deal with Cody Steele, he's got a little bit of a size advantage. We're going to check them out on the scale. We'll look at the face-off in a moment. First, let's look at what they looked like weighing in, though. We have to always check how they look weighing in. You can see Cody Steele, good shape, cauliflower eared up. He looks solid. He looks ready to go. Ottoni looks pretty solid, too. The win over Pereira maybe has us biased, or are we just seeing something special with him? There's the face-off. He's the bigger guy. And I don't think Cody Steele is going to absolutely body Ottoni in the grappling. And I think when they're striking, Cody Steele is going to be very uncomfortable on the feet with Ottoni's wild pressure. Ottoni throws shots from different angles. At times, he'll keep his hands a little bit low. He'll switch up the stances and throw looping stuff. I think that can give Cody Steele some difficulty. I think that can give Cody Steele a lot of problems. I think Steele needs to look to grapple here, but he's going to take on a Brazilian who is pretty well versed. And I think Ottoni also has a good athletic base and a strong natural base too to defend these takedowns. I feel like Ottoni's going to land some hellish punches on the feet, and I think he's going to end up getting a highlight reel knockout. These Brazilians, man, they've been coming through lately. Brazilians been on fire in the UFC, and they've been on fire in Contender Series, and I think that Ottoni's no exception. He's a plus 155 underdog. We saw DeJordan Santos last week get a big win, and I think Ottoni's going to get a big win here. Steele is minus 180 as the favorite. I'm going dog money in this fight. Oh, man, over 1.5, minus 205. I think this fight might be quicker. I don't know. I think ends inside distance at minus 170. Ottoni inside distance is plus 245, and him by KO is up at plus 400. I know Cody Steele hasn't been put out yet, but I think that Ottoni's got some legit power. Let's see how many KO wins he's got. Yeah, 8 knockout wins, 6 in the first round. He's well-versed, man. I think he's going to be all right. Hasn't lost since 2019. He's currently riding a 5-fight win streak. He was supposed to fight in the damn PFL Challenger Series. And honestly, things couldn't have worked out better with him not going to PFL, because now he's getting a chance to break into the UFC. And having that Alex Pereira win, that could be something that really helps market him quickly. And at 31, I'm sure he wants to make a rise up the ranks already. Now, both these guys have fought at welterweight before, though this fight is at 155 pounds. We can look at Cody Steele real quick. Last fight was his biggest career fight, I believe, Alejandro Martinez. He did get touched a little in that fight. He broke Martinez, who's a difficult Mexican fighter. But, like, look, MMA debut 2022. Yes, I know he's got a ton of grappling. There is a lot of jiu-jitsu experience here. But damn, man, Ottoni's been fighting forever. When's Ottoni's debut? All the way back in 2014? That's a long time. And that experience is very valid. And I think Ottoni is going to really shine here and put a lot of people on notice as he takes out a tough up-and-comer in Cody Steele, who I just don't think is as experienced, or experienced enough, I should say, to deal with Ottoni's well-versed MMA game and legitimate knockout power. A win over Alex Pereira needs not to be taken lightly. I don't give a shit if Pereira had no idea what grappling was at that time. It's still badass. Ottoni to beat Cody Steele, earn a UFC contract, and start building some, bit of a cult following. I think he's going to be a popular guy. I'm going to Ottoni for the W. Next fight on the card, it is our main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe it up. Really cool fight. Navajo Stirling versus Phillip Latu. Stirling is jumping in on short notice, but he was supposed to be fighting on Contender Series this season, but some scrambling of matchups have led him to fight 2 weeks earlier than he was expected to fight. I'm picking Navajo Stirling over Phillip Latu. If you don't know anything about Navajo Stirling, he trains with Adesanya. He trains at City Kickboxing. And you can see the influence of that City Kickboxing style on him. He does have experience in kickboxing as well. He's very tall, 6'4" with an 82-inch reach. I'm hoping that that's accurate. Who knows if it's actually going to be 82 inches. Maybe it'll end up being 83. But Navajo Stirling is pretty precise. He picks his shots really well. He's got a stiff jab. He works to the body nicely too. He's got nasty kicks. He seems to have very good reflexes. He's got great eyes. He finds shots nicely, and he's not just good on the outside. He also has good Muay Thai on the inside. Nasty knees and elbows in close range. You definitely can see that he's putting a lot of time in at City Kickboxing, and coming from that kickboxing base, now fighting MMA, I think he's a special prospect. City Kickboxing has been able to make these kickboxers turn into high caliber MMA fighters. You look at what we've been seeing with Carlos Ulberg right now, who's on the rise. I think Navajo Stirling's pretty damn good, and I think he's a problem. Now, Phillip Latu is a good striker too. He's a clean striker. He fought in kickboxing as well. Granted, he was fighting in caged kickboxing, and it was lower quality opposition in that one-night Grand Prix tournament, which he came in the finals in. He didn't win the tournament, but he was a finalist. He lost by decision in the final fight. Latu does have pretty good striking, though. He's got fast hands. He throws nice hook combinations in close. He definitely sits on his punches nicely. I like his power. Overall, I feel like Latu is a guy to watch. Like, I think that if he wasn't fighting Navajo Stirling, he can beat a lot of light heavyweights outside of the UFC. The dude is a bully. Absolute savage pressure, insane volume, and a style that is really fun to watch, and a style that is exactly what the UFC is looking for. But unfortunately, he's running into Navajo Stirling, who I just have a feeling is special. Has that little special thing about him that could take him far. And at 26, if he wins this fight and gets a UFC contract, I'm telling you, this kid is a great investment because he's got a bright future ahead. He's got the size, he's got the precision, he's got the power, he's got the kickboxing game, he's got all the tools in his tool shed. He's got everything going for him. And I think the hand is going to be raised here. I think Phillip Latu is a little too wild, a little too reckless. You're not going to bully Navajo Stirling. And Navajo Stirling is going to find the chin, and he's going to put Phillip Latu to sleep. It might be with an elbow in close. He might rip him with some shots from the outside. Latu getting crazy and close. Elbow, knee to the body, another elbow, and down goes Latu. I'm going with Navajo Stirling to get a knockout at 4-0. I know he doesn't have a ton of fights, but I'm telling you, he's got a ton of skills, and you can tell that he's worked with high-level guys in the room. Now, if you look, he does have a win over Sam Kai by vicious knockout in that clinch using the elbows and knees, and that was 2 months ago. Sam Kai might be a bit of a scrub, but he was an ex-PFL fighter. He's seen some high-level looks, and yeah, he had an 8-8 record, but Sam Kai's not that bad. Latu last time out, he took out Dylan Potter, or if you remember, lost to Lucas Drezhki on Contender Series. Then you see some okay names here. Maurice Morris, he's on everybody's fucking record. He got submitted a year and a half ago by Alvin Hines, who was making a debut, but I don't think this is a grappling fight. I think this is going to be a lot of striking, and Navajo Stirling right now, I think, is a special talent. I'm picking him to find the kill shot, and I think he's calculated, and I think he's well-timed, and I think he puts a very game Phillip Latu to sleep here in this Dana White's Contender Series main event. Holy shit. This is one of the most dope main events I could have imagined. Like, every card tops the one before. I thought last card, best card we've seen on Contender Series. The card before this is awesome. This card is better. There's Navajo Stirling. He's got the blonde hair. He's got that Dan Hooker blonde hair. Dude's in good shape and ready to go. Let's see. Latu is all the way at the top, man. Latu's got that special treatment. He got the moustache. This Phillip Latu with the stash. He's a fun fighter, man, but I think he's just not as skilled. There's the face-off. You can see, like, they're lying about Latu's height. They said he's 6'3". I think he's more like 6'2", 6'1.5". And damn, Navajo Stirling's arms do look pretty long. They said he's got an 82-inch reach. I believe it. I believe it. I think Navajo Stirling's going to be special, man. I don't know. I'm going to double down on him and say that he's a special fighter on the come up, and he's somebody that we all got to keep our eyes on. I think Navajo Stirling by knockout in vicious fashion against a savage in Phil Latu, but he's just simply outmatched here against a special prospect, and that's how the damn fight game goes. Let's look at the odds. Navajo Stirling is minus 265. Latu is plus 225 as the underdog. Looking at Stirling via KO. What is that? Plus 110 and a Stirling decision plus 325. Damn, you're not getting any bang for your buck on the knockout. I do think he finds the KO. Stirling second round knockout plus 375. It definitely could be later. It depends. Like, does Latu overly press and then get countered? Or is it a competitive affair and Stirling breaks him down after some dangerous moments from Latu and then finds a later KO? I think later KO is live, but it's not crazy to say that it's going to end earlier too, because Stirling is a full-size 205er. I mean, damn, Latu's big as well. Both guys are huge. Latu did that kickboxing tournament at heavyweight, so the dude's game. The dude's gritty. Both guys are good, but I think Navajo Stirling is just simply cleaner and has more upside potential. And if he's actually got an 82-inch reach, that's fucking terrifying with his striking style. He's going to be able to keep a ton of light heavyweights on the outside, and I think he's got a lot of highlight reel knockouts incoming. So I'm going with Navajo Stirling to get the win. I got him beating Phillip Latu. That is the main event pick for the Contender Series. Those are my predictions for the Contender Series card this week. I'm not done yet, though. I do want to quickly discuss parlays. Now, I think that betting Contender Series is very high risk, but without risk comes no reward. I think Yusri Belgaroui wins. I know he's a 5-1 favorite, but he's going to pull through. I believe that he will. Actually, now I got to check what the over line looks like in this fight. Tanzilov over. What's that sitting at? Plus 110. Damn. You might get plus money on that. I don't know if it's like a great parlay piece, but if you want to parlay up a little plus money, I could just click this one to give you an idea. It'll be around plus 140 for the over in the Tanzilov fight. Now, I'm kind of thinking just go with Navajo Stirling, Yusri Belgaroui, minus 150. Damn, that's chalky as fuck. But I do think it's going to end up hitting. Looking at, does Quemuel pull through for you? You going for the dog, plus 352. I feel like Caliari and Laframboise is just playing with fire, because there's a world where Laframboise wins. She's older. So I worry about a fighter over that certain age limit that I just don't want to throw her in it. If you did want to touch maybe the over 1.5 in the Tanzilov fight for plus money and give yourself a plus 795, you can do that. You want Tanzilov plus 590. You can tell Caliari is my lowest conf pick. Like, I don't care about odds just in general. If she was plus 200, I'd be telling you the same thing. If she was minus 200, I'd definitely be telling you the same thing. Bet it intelligently, man. Like my confident call, I said, yeah, use free Belgaroui, but he's minus 500. If I'm going favorite dog, Ottoni's a savage. I got to go with him. I think Tanzilov finds a win. I think he finds a way. I think Navajo finds a way to win. I think Caliari and Laframboise flip a damn coin. Don't throw money on that shit. Sit and watch. If you are betting on Contender Series, please do some research, man. Don't just listen to what I'm saying and blindly tail. Do your own research, because that's going to give you double up confidence. Yo, I see what he's seeing. Or you're like, fuck no, I disagree. Better off. I'd rather hear that you disagree, but you did your own research, than you just blindly tail. And shit, blindly tailing, it's not like you won't be catching dubs. I've been catching big W's with Contender Series and UFC alike. But better off do your own due diligence if you're a serious bettor. If you're just watching for fun, you're throwing a few bucks down, different conversation. I hope you guys enjoyed this Contender Series breakdown. I am very excited for this card, and I can't wait to be live for the whole thing. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what you thought of the picks in the comments. And if you got nothing to say, or you just enjoy the content, as always, drop a W in the chat to boost the algorithm for your boy. Thank you all for tuning in. Smash the likes on your way out. And if you're new, subscribe. I got daily content, and you don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you in the next one. Peace out.